No, I heard your kids. Or maybe they're Seth's kids. Is that your kid, Seth?
No, my kids are in the cage.
Tales from the ditch. We've got tales from the ditch by our house. It's tales from the ditch.
Welcome to Tales from the Ditch with Sean and Seth again. If it sounds like we're eating and at a daycare, it's because we are.
Yeah.
My home is overrun. I'm on day 5 of holding them off at the gates. We got guests. Sean, do you want to introduce our illustrious catfish-like guests?
Oh, yes. So we've got here old horse boots himself, old zombie lass himself, Marque with a Q, Caceres.
Hey,
Marquez,
guys.
Marufo, Melendrez, Rodriguez, Caceres.
It is great to be back again. I love this podcast.
We've missed you.
Or at least
there's
one
been
person does.
There's been a major void in my heart ever since Pizza Fortress shut down.
Yeah. If it wasn't the whole grad school thing, we'd probably have to shut down due to the coronavirus because we
That's a good
cannot
point.
social distance.
Good point. And then also we have here old Willie Clark himself.
The
Willie
one and only.
Clark.
The one and only.
I remember meeting Willie Clark in 1740, and I'll tell you, was he a rascal then. He always had that wit about him and that charm, and he was a murderer, too.
Battleaxe.
He was a murderer. He killed several people.
The finer years.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's all I got.
Well, all right. I think I have a topic, Seth.
Ooh.
Oh, okay.
And I
That's
don't know.
new.
I'm not actually sure how this is going to work. It's just been something I've been thinking about. And you guys, of course, remember a band. Mark, you were friends with this guy, Adam and his Package.
Oh, yeah.
Band is maybe the wrong term. An artist. So
A
Adam and his
penis-ing
Package,
pioneer.
he had this song. Oh my gosh. He had this song, Punk Rock Academy. Remember? That was like his kind of big song.
Yeah.
The whole concept was he was peeing in the bathroom and he realized
That's an appropriate place.
Yeah, he realized. I'll just quote the lyrics. He says, "If we all hated high school so much, why wasn't anything ever changed?" And that's not the topic. But my question is, Oh, go ahead.
Oh, well, no, I was going to say, though, and technically, like, you and Seth actually change high school for yourselves and then, like,
True.
a whole bunch of other kids afterwards.
Good point. Valid point.
That's right. I withdraw any questions.
I mean, and that's kind of like the thing that I was pondering on. But what I mean is, like, youth culture in general. There was something when we were younger that we said, this isn't right. Like, we're not being adequately honored, prepared, or respected as young people. And you guys remember, like, there's like Blink-182 lyrics that are like, kids don't get to vote. The adults elect them, and they're a bunch of idiots. And everything Blink-182 sang about was high school years, I feel like. But either way, there's like this youth revolution that was always supposed to happen. And I feel like throughout the ages, it was always supposed to happen. And now we're old, right?
Yeah.
So question for everybody. Are kids idiots? And should we just grow out of that phase? Or is there still something to say about, like, the idea that young people actually should have more of a voice and what young people think is important? And I say this based on Jesus's words that the heart of a child is, like, significant and people shouldn't overlook it.
Objection.
Did you say ejection?
I didn't say erection. Objection.
Consternation.
Science. I said science again.
Take it away, Tony Clark.
Sure. No, it's funny you say that because I think I was actually just talking to one of the guys about this over the weekend. About like having a huge issue with like I guess for us it'd be like the boomer generation, because that's kind of their attitude towards like our generation, isn't it? Like, you know, we're just dumb and we're young. We don't know what we're talking about. But at the same time, I feel like in response we could go, well, if we're this way, it's because you raised us this way. I mean, you were the adult during the time when I was a child. So,
Got him.
Oh yeah, that's more Blink-182 lyrics. They go,
Yeah.
if we're up, you're to blame.
Exactly. And they're one of my favorite bands, so obviously I agree. But no, that's kind of my stance on it is, you know, our generation is the most unfathered generation. Not to make an excuse, but it's like you take fathers away and you stick kids out in the real world. I mean, what choices do you expect them to make? You know, I think, you know, the approach that I'm even taking with my son is an approach of, you know, I'm trying to teach him to talk, teach him to stand up for himself, teach him to voice his opinions, and I'm going to just kind of course correct as he gets older. But I want him to not be afraid to say, hey, you know, this is what I think, or that's wrong. Maybe there's a different way we could go about that rather than how we were raised, where it was just, you know, we're kids, we're stupid, and we have no credit at all, which I don't think is healthy.
No.
But
Well, that was a good podcast, man.
Well,
Mark,
so
what do you think?
well, so I was gonna say, as a person that has no kids, so I'm 100% qualified to speak on this.
absolutely.
No. I mean, like, I think if anything, what, like, especially as I have gotten older, I've kind of tried to remember that. I tried to remember that, like, awkward feeling I had in. I always try to remember the awkwardness that I had in high school. Especially when dealing with younger people, because like I remember like the people that were like the most impactful, the people that were the most impactful to me were like the people that would actually, like, even though a lot of the stuff I was saying when I was a teenager was really stupid, but if you would just like listen to me, that would go a long way. You know, I mean, you don't necessarily have to agree, but if you're just like, you know what, you have ideas, and that's okay, but, you know, have you also thought about, you know, and then insert like something more logical, you know?
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm coming at. But I don't feel like as we were kids that we were given that space to
Oh yeah, no.
kind of say things that like, all right, like you're almost right or you're kind of there. You almost had it, but it was more like, yeah, you're an idiot. Stop talking.
Oh,
cool, thanks.
yeah.
Shut up. Go take out the garbage.
Mhm.
No,
Yeah,
well,
which
so
reminds me.
I agree with horse boots.
well, so, and I was also gonna say, like, I actually had this conversation with my mom, like, I want to say last week, because we've been doing Zoom Bible studies,
Oh.
where we've been in quarantine. And I mean, you know, now that I have more of a relationship with my parents, I'm more inclined to speak what I'm actually like, or I'm more inclined to actually like, I'm more inclined to speak my mind. And the other day she asked me, she's like, how come you never were like this when, you know, I forced you to have Bible studies when you were a teenager? I was like, well, one, every time I tried to ask you a question, you said, no, it's dumb. And, you know, and the only answer that you ever gave me was, because that's what the Bible says. So if you don't believe the Bible, then you're honestly going to go to hell, you know? And it's because, like, she wasn't equipped to address like
Dude, yes.
the questions I had.
I feel like
I
you're
think-
speaking my language, man.
Yeah, I think like
Did you just become best friends?
I think so.
there's like a lot of stuff from myself as a child that I don't like. You know, like the way I acted and some of the things I did when I was younger, I'm like ashamed of and wish I could undo. And I don't want to blame shift too much, but I will. But I think it was the older generation not having that patience and tenderness like you're talking about that made me into such an angry jerk. Because I remember being just like a happy-go-lucky, goofy, fun-having kid, and all of a sudden I could never understand why, but I just became so angry at everything. And now I think I'm starting to understand why, because I see it in my son that it's like really like to quote Will Smith, parents just don't understand.
Hmm.
Fair enough.
I think a lot of it is okay. So I think it's silly when we go, oh, kids, they want to change the world. I'm like, honestly, most people do. Like if we look around and ask people, hey, if you had the power to, if you weren't apathetic, if you weren't cynical, if you hadn't given up on your dreams and just submitted, if I told you could change the world, would you? And most people would say, yeah, the world shouldn't be this way. I want to change it. The only difference between them and young people is they gave up or they gave into reality or they said, well, it's not really going to happen. And I think with young people, let's make it a refining process. Let's say, look, don't get rid of your BS radar where you see things that don't make sense in the world. Don't get rid of your desire for justice or for what's right. Don't get rid of that, but let's refine it. And I'm not saying we have to give kids the same authority and responsibility as adults, but we can give them a voice and then guide them to go, okay, you want something to change, what? And how are you going to do it? And how do you arrive there? And not just give them a desire to change the world, but also give them a desire of, hey, make sure your house is in order. Make sure you're a respectable person with integrity. Make sure, how do you treat, the poor, the widows, the marginalized? How do you treat your children, your spouse? Raise them to be those people. Because if they have their own house in order, they'll do even better when they step out in the world and say, that's not right. I want that to be different, because it's so silly. We mock them for wanting to change the world, but everyone does. I don't know anyone who looks at the world and goes, yeah, genocide, murder, it's all perfect. And isn't that the hope of the new heaven, new earth, is that the world will change? Like, why would we make that our hope that everything will change, but then go, that's so silly you want that? Why? Because they're honest? You have that BS radar growing up because you see hypocrisy, you see it in your own household, you see it in school, but you're surrounded by adults who have given into it because they got beat down by the world. So let's raise them. Let's refine them. Let's take that. Let's not tell kids just to learn to shut up, but how to speak, how to, not of, well, here's how you be quiet. No, here's how you deal with things. And I'm not going to tell my kids to be anarchists, but I am also going to say them not to blindly follow and walk them along. Like, don't just teach them how to hold a job. Like, that's great. I want to know, how do they treat women? How do they treat people weaker than them? What's their temper like? So I just think it's a refining thing, and it's laziness to just say, well, shut up, you're wrong, be quiet, because that's a cop-out. That's basically abdicating responsibility as a leader or as an authority person or as an adult, where your experience could help bring them to this more multifaceted view of the world, where we could have people who are not only healthy in their personal lives, but they're going out in the world and making a difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, Seth, I think that is an excellent point. And also too, I also think that if someone would have told me, like, when I was in high school, when like I was just crazy and acted extremely stupid, if they would have said, hey, you know what? You can't control or change like all the stuff that you want to, but you can control and change yourself in the way that you want to. And, it's those type of people that will actually lead to more change, because they really do stand out in society because they are in control of themselves. And, I wish someone would have told me at like a pretty young age, be like, hey, you know what? The world may suck, but you can always control your actions, and you can always control the things that, you hold in you yourself hold in high regards.
Even just imagine this: someone listening to you, not being condescending, someone saying they believe in you, someone encouraging you.
Yeah.
And then when you fail, that same person walking alongside you, showing you how to do, because that's being a mentor, that's discipleship. When I did welding, I didn't learn on my own. I had someone who shared that experience, and it's like, well, if you think we're so dumb and you got it figured out, then show us.
Exactly.
Don't cover up wood in our houses on the floor with your terrible houses that you've made, you generation. But like, seriously, like, show us then. Because just saying, well, you're dumb, then show me. Like, I can yell at my kid all day of, you don't know how to drive a car. Yeah, because you didn't freaking tell me. Show me how to do it then. Show me and work with them. It's the same thing with like, well, just don't be sad. Oh, I never thought of that. Like, if young people, I agree, and Tony and Mark, you've hit the nail on the head. Like, you're so mad about this generation that you raised. You're mad about video games that they're playing all the time that a lot of you developed. You're mad about, I mean, there's so many things where I go, you know what? Take ownership then and disciple us. And it's not, I still have agency as a person, but you know what? There is some responsibility to say, hey, if my kid doesn't know certain things, where the hell was I? Where was I in that process? If I'm his dad, where was I in that process?
And that's kind of what I was getting at, like, I think a lot of the times when I was a kid and I look back at the times where I was asking certain questions or maybe if I was disagreeing or whatever it was, it wasn't that I was trying to be unruly. A lot of the times I was just trying to figure the world out. I'm growing up. I'm noticing new things. I'm more aware, or I'm figuring people out, or now I have questions. And then, I go to these people that I'm supposed to be able to love and trust. And those are the very same people who tear me down and tell me to stop talking, be quiet, don't worry about that. Or why would you even ask that question? And it's like, well, I'm asking because I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure it out. And my whole life, you're supposed to have been the person that I could go to and figure life out with. And now I get to a certain age where I go, dude, I can't even trust you.
Yeah. That's heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking. And so that's why, like, even just listen to what you guys are saying now. It's like, dude, we not once were we ever just trying to be crazy, but I think we were driven to be crazy because we would ask these questions and then think, man, are we dumb? Like, am I nuts? Am I not understanding? Am I, whatever? Because nobody was ever uplifting. Nobody ever said positive things. And so like what? Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no. And I was also just going to say too, like, I know that when I was growing up, like, if I were to screw something up, it was like the biggest deal in the world, but like in all actuality, it really wasn't, but like it still felt absolutely horrible,
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think something we could all agree on is like, most of us turn towards, Saturday morning cartoons, right? We turn towards, like, when people ask us, why are you guys into video games? Why are you guys into, comics or this and that? It's like, well, because you're not around, and the only people who teach us right from wrong, realistically, are our childhood superheroes.
Yeah.
Batman is one of my favorites because even though he had no parents, he figured out how to fight bad guys. And I thought that was awesome. It sounds weird and it sounds like maybe a little,
makes
but
sense.
it's like, that's what I turn to. I'm like, oh, so that's right. That's wrong. Oh, fight back. Okay.
I didn't join a violent straight edge crew because I was balanced emotionally. You're looking for something, like, no joke. Because to go, well, why are you doing that? That's dumb. That is such a lazy answer versus someone talking to Mark and saying, hey man, so what is this? What is it about this that you like? It takes like 2 more minutes. Just ask them. Like, I ask my kids all the time. Instead of just saying, that's stupid, I say, hey buddy, so what is it about this that you like? Ask. What are they looking? They're looking for something. People have desires. They have needs. Kids have needs. And it's like, remember? Like, do you remember what it was being a kid? How confusing it was? How frustrating. Do you remember the first time you got your heart broken? Do you remember being disappointed, being depressed? Do you remember wondering how next week was going to be? Like, don't forget that. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, so, and I mean, I think that, and I actually have a really good relationship with my parents now. Over the past couple of years, we've grown really close, and we've kind of transitioned from, like, them being my parents to them being my friends. But like, I also think though too, like, when, like, I know that when they were raising me and my brother, like, a lot of it was like them just trying to survive. So I don't even know if they like would even really remember what it felt like to be in love, because like they were more worried about, making sure we had the house paid, and like, me and my brother weren't fighting and we had food and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's so what changed it that's better now?
So I think just overall, so like it's weird, but like I think we both came to the realization that we're both, or I think me and my parents came to the realization that we are extremely flawed human beings, but we still love each other despite the fact that we have an enormous amount of flaws.
That's
helps.
interesting. Yeah. Sean, you got anything to contribute?
Yeah, I was wondering, I think we should lower the voting age. If you guys want me to participate in this silly electoral college without a major change, I think we should let kids participate in the elections down to 6 years old.
Huh.
I'm all for it.
Do you think that would swing the vote too much?
That's,
No, because I'm sure people still wouldn't vote.
I would think
6-year-olds
that
would be too busy.
kids would be like, kids are brutally honest, and they would be like, well, I want to vote for this guy because he looks better. He seems less mean, or she seems less mean. And I agree with their opinion on puppies and kittens, which honestly, those candidates should be having a perspective on puppies and kittens, and they've gotten lazy because of this stupid electoral college and voting age.
Or it could backfire, and all the candidates with really funny names get elected.
could happen.
Vermin Supreme.
Is there enough kids to actually swing the vote, or would kids honestly just create a more well-rounded electorate? Because
you'd have voting fraud, and I won't stand for it.
It makes me think of like people who have been elected, even though they've had some past problems that probably shouldn't have been elected. Yeah, kids would never forget that. They'd be like, I'm not electing this guy because he shot a horse in the face because it had a broken leg. And that's a good reason not to elect somebody.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, I think it would probably make a larger impact if we got rid of the electoral college, because the population, so like even if we increase the amount of people that could vote, it would still probably have the same amount of overall population allocation. So that means that the electoral college would probably not see a change.
Yeah, the electoral college is stupid and should go away. But don't you think that your electorates would all of a sudden have to pay attention to what kids care about as much as what voting adults care about? You know what I mean?
I mean, I think it would be cool if, like, I went to a campaign rally that had like a lot more like free candy and stuff. That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
I would vote for that person.
How do you know their parents wouldn't just brainwash them, though?
Well, I mean, that's happening anyways.
Yeah. They probably would. I think you're right. But I think that the ages of 6 to maybe 16 or 17, kids are doing stuff to spite their parents more than they're trying to listen to their parents. You know what I mean? Maybe 8. Let's say 8. Because if I was 13 and my dad told me to vote for somebody, I would vote for the opposite guy.
Oh man, there'd be so many spite elections won.
I am completely unprepared for this proposal.
How is it different than now?
That's true. That's true.
Didn't children, for the most part, elect our last president?
So,
culturally.
Gosh, I'm not even sure how to. So I'm trying to think of a bunch of 6 to 8-year-olds marching in there, trying not to take a dump in the voting booth, voting. I mean, You know what? To be honest, I mean, I was going to come up with this whole argument, but now that I'm looking at the world, it might not be any worse.
I mean, I think at this point it's pretty par for course.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Jeez. What?
See, my
Can I
son
ask
is
Sean
6
what
years
made
old.
you think of this?
I listened to Adam and his package song. And it's a valid point, like, so that I've thought about a lot but never really put words to. It's like it was always so patronizing when I was in school and people would tell me, "Hey, you're the future of this country." And I'd be like, "That's weird you're telling me that because you're not acting like it. You don't give a crap about anything I say, and you don't honestly care if I leave here with a sour taste in my mouth. All you're trying to do is deal with me, like get me out of your hair." So to say that I'm the future of the country is kind of to say that you're short-sighted and don't care about the future because you're not showing any type of concern for me. And this is like parents, principals, teachers, just adults. When you start your first job, they were always such jerks. Like all of these people, the boomer generation, yes, but also just like anybody who was even like when I was in my teens, they were in their 20s. They still were talking down to me and demeaning to me for the most part, unless it was like one of the really cool people that are few and far between that you guys were kind of talking to them. So it just makes me wonder, like, why hasn't that ever changed? Because the youth has always been saying they're going to revolt, including us, and never does because they get old and have mortgages and crap.
Well, yeah, because I mean, I think that's the problem. Is like we ultimately become the things that we hate. You know?
Dude,
Yeah.
that's no joke.
Amen.
Oh,
I think-
I sure do hate me.
I think it's just one of those things that the more you hate something, the more and you don't let it go. It's like it consumes you to the point where you become what you hate because you won't let it go.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's true. Well, also too, it's also kind of scary to think about that kind of stuff right now. Like, I just turned 37, and like it would
Dang.
freak me out to like have some kind of revolt or something.
I just turned 30.
Oh man.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
a youngin'.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. You're so
Willie
lucky.
Clark.
You're so lucky.
I'm in
Hold
my
on to
prime.
it.
Yeah.
He meant 30 centuries. He's as old as time.
He's old as every tree.
He has killed more ice giants than you men know. Thank you for your service, Willie Clark.
Well, and the interesting thing about this too is like the biggest advocates for young people also grew up and now don't care. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Tom DeLonge's out there looking for aliens. The other guys in that Alkaline Trio band, and they don't care about kids anymore. And they were the biggest advocates because they were probably dating high school girls when they were in their 20s.
That's why they wrote high school
Yeah.
songs. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just kind of upsetting because I look at my son. We're during this quarantine thing, right? And we have to do homeschool because the schools are closed. And so we're doing homeschool, and I'm trying to do things that get my son interested. So we have like a gardening class and a sword fighting class and things like that. And I'm just realizing like I'm treating him the same way that I hated being treated as a kid. And I'm trying desperately not to, but it's like the same thing comes over my being that I think came over all my teachers and adults when I was a kid. That's just like, I don't want to deal with this young person and his creativity. I'd rather just like go do whatever my life holds, which is like watching Netflix, whatever. And it's like just really sad, you know?
I don't know, dude. I think you should give yourself a little more credit, man. I think, we're all in this weird situation that we're never prepared for. And, the fact of the matter is our kids have dad, which
Yeah, that's true.
that in and of itself is leaps and bounds ahead of where, at least where I was when I was a kid. I didn't have a dad around to take me on bike rides or take me out into the woods and go hike, or just whatever, or I play video games with my son now, I mean, heck, we were just playing Call of Duty the other night, just having a good time.
Yeah.
I never got to do any of that. And so I think we're doing a bang up job. And I think,
Damn right.
that's just, That's what I'm choosing to believe. That's where I'm
Yeah.
at.
No, and I mean, like I said, absolutely have no kids, so I'm not qualified to speak on this. But like, I think you guys are doing like a great job because ultimately, like, I think that I think that the kids are always gonna think that their dad is like either gonna be their dad is like super lame or like not fun to hang out with, but these are really good memories you are building with your kids.
I
Yeah.
only care what Instagram shows. As long as people think I'm a good dad on Instagram, that's all that matters.
No, I mean, I've been hung around with you guys enough, and our kids have enough that like, well, just even when we get together and hang out and let the kids, like, I don't have memories. I don't have memories of like jumping in the car with my parents, going over to their friend's house and playing with their kids, and
Yeah.
like it just didn't happen, and I think so. Back to the original question of like, how we were raised. I think now we're doing the very things that we wish adults would have done in some ways. Like, we spend time with our kids in a certain way because we know we didn't get that when we were kids, and we know it sucked and it hurt and it left us empty. Obviously we still have blind spots, which we're always going to have, but I think that we have a generation of young men who are hungry to be good fathers and are trying. They're really genuinely trying and putting their best foot forward.
You know what? I'm going to agree with Willie Clark. I withdraw my objection.
Excellent. So voting age lower to 8 years old.
Yeah, why not? Can't get any worse.
You know what? I think that's a good compromise. Like, honestly though, like I honestly think that if you can drive, you should be able to vote because either way you're going to kill someone, right?
Yeah.
You
If you can smoke, and I don't mean if legally you can smoke, I mean if you can smoke. If you can
like if you're a really tough third grader, you can vote.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Ugh.
Oh, goodness. I think I will say this as far as age restrictions go. I do think it's silly that you can go overseas and fight for your country, but you're not allowed to go have a beer.
dude. Yeah.
I think that's kind of stupid.
That's
You can operate a firearm and kill an enemy insurgent, but you can't have a moderately priced beer.
Yeah. And we do such silly things to include kids and stuff. Like, we have student council, right? And the student council person gets to sit on the school board and do nothing because they have
Yeah.
no power
They're
whatsoever.
a
but
puppet
we act like
dictator. Yeah.
Exactly. It's just like so stupid. And so like we try to trick kids into thinking that they have some type of power and voice, but they don't.
And it's
No, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say it's also so sad too when they think they do and they're like, I'm gonna make the lunches better and I'm gonna make sure we have like 3 dances this year that aren't lame.
And they're like, "Shut up, Gary, get in the corner."
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm sorry, Gary, but we can't bring in a porta subs. It's not happening.
It's not happening.
So speaking
goodness.
of homeschool during quarantine and stuff,
Oh, don't get me started.
we Mark and Seth and Tony, I don't know how old you were at the time, but I used to try to do some cinematography and like make movies and stuff like that. And Mark used to help quite a bit, and Seth, when he wasn't punching somebody, would star in the films and things like that.
Or
But,
fire my gun.
But it really was such a different experience being a kid and living through. I never lived through a pandemic before, but we lived through like some serious stuff like 9/11 and other things like that. And it's just so weird the difference that like online information and social media plays a role in people's lives now.
Yeah, no, I would agree. Like, I mean, it's kind of crazy just like how online everyone is now, especially now that we're in quarantine. And like I don't know, like I kind of had the problem with it just because like I'm still working full time, and like there's a whole bunch of people online that are all like, oh yeah, if you don't come out of quarantine with with like
The
all
heads
these
of your
projects.
enemies.
Yeah, exactly. With like all these projects done and like being able to speak a second language, then clearly you failed.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten anything done.
Yeah, they say like you didn't lack time, you lack discipline.
Yeah,
And
and
I
it's
just
just
hear
like,
Joe Rogan saying,
It's because you made me that way.
well, so and on top of it too, like I've been working like 12 to 13 hours a day, like this
Oh,
whole
nice.
quarantine.
oh gosh.
Oh, jeez.
From the office?
I've been doing that.
No, from my home office.
Oh geez.
Yeah.
So you were making movies or trying or whatever. Were you guys ever a part of the Thrasher scene? Did you guys ever try to make sweet skate videos or anything like that?
I did.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't go well.
No.
Yeah, that was my high school thesis.
Yeah, because my brother, he's 7 years older than me, so he's right around your guys' age. And I just remember like Thrasher magazine and like World of Toys and like all that kind of stuff. And he would just be trying to make videos, and they're out there just basically filming each other, just eat it real hard. But yeah.
That was exactly how it started. Was somebody had a camera, and we would go to places and be like, "Oh man, this is how we're gonna get sponsored skating." And we would like film like, "Oh, check out this ollie over some dirt or something like that." And then Jackass was pretty big at the time, so we had to do some of that stuff as well.
Yeah, my
And,
brother and his friends, it was always gap and stairs. See
Yep.
who can clear the biggest gap or the most stairs.
I think for us it was probably like the strangest location. So like we would go, you guys all know, but our listeners probably don't, but there's this place west of Reno that's been closed down for like 50 years called the Mineral Hot Springs. And they used to have these pools where people would soak in hot springs or something. I don't know. I don't know what they would do there. And we cleaned them out. We cleaned them out there and would skate that. And we were like, look how cool we are. We're spray painting the sidewalk and whatever. And it was kind of fun. It was good times. I dislocated my elbow there. Remember that, Seth?
Yeah, it's etched into my brain, the screaming and that empty socket where something was supposed to be. It was terrible.
So gross.
That's rough.
It was gross. But it was a good day skating.
Yeah.
I landed a kickflip, so there's that.
First and last time.
I could land a kickflip if you give me 19 tries. But, not to brag, but...
So, and I was also going to say too, so, speaking of like how we used to make speaking on how we used to make videos and stuff, I just want to ask you guys a question, right? So say that you were tasked to make like a 3-minute video that you would use to basically introduce yourself, right? What is the process that you guys would do to create this video?
I'll just tell you what I did when I submitted.
What was the word?
my stuff to. Yeah,
process.
I get what you're saying. Remember, Seth, when we submitted our videos to the real world?
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
Are you kidding me? You would.
No, we didn't. But yeah, you would
I
have
would've
to do
believed you.
something clever, right? You'd like. I would try to be on the top of a building or something like that and act like I jumped off, or try to do a green screen, although the technology wasn't quite cool.
You had
back
me
then.
shoot my gun in the air in a public area.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that'll get somebody's attention.
Yeah, remember we made the
it's-
Flonzo movie?
Yes,
Ugh,
that was
terrible.
the Desert Eagle firing at 1 in the afternoon.
Well, so okay. So the reason I asked, right, is because in a class I took, we were assigned to make a brand video, right, and it had to be around 3 minutes long. So I did what every person of what I feel my generation would do is I hopped on YouTube. I learned how to edit a video. I took all these shots. I spliced it all together. I added some punk rock music in the background, and
Yeah.
I called it a day. Right? Well, he sends out this thing saying, "Hey, I saw some of your videos. I just want to show you what a quality video looks like." And it's all people that paid actual like professional videographers to create videos for them that had
Oh my gosh.
that had like drone shots and like crazy like composed music that went with like all of the peaks and valleys like of the video, so it like drew you in emotionally. It was all well shot. There was like all kinds of crazy angles, and I was just like, how do you compete with that? And also too, who would hire a videographer to do homework? Like, isn't that like hiring someone to like write your paper for you?
I would, yeah.
That's the change of the times, though. Like, I kind of feel like you're absolutely right. Remember our drone shots that we'd have to do? We'd put a rope over a tree and tie the camera to it and end up breaking the camera. We would do everything we could do. Like actually, do you guys remember we were making films and we were like, hey, we need to accept the fact that we can't do the cool stuff. Like, and I'm not talking about drone shots or CG. I'm talking about just like film something in a store. We couldn't do that. And so somebody had to distract the clerk so we could film something in a store without getting kicked out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hey, Sean, do you remember me getting you kicked out of Rayleigh's?
Which time?
All right, so we weren't filming, and I was just walking by, knocking things off the shelves.
Oh, yeah.
And you said, "Can I not get kicked out? I actually have to buy stuff."
And it's just like, nope.
I do remember that. Well, and yeah, I remember some super DIY stuff that we used to have to do to just like get anything done, not even videos, but just like homework and stuff like that. We had to go to a library. We had to read a book.
Yeah.
We had to, it was terrible. Tony, you have no idea.
No.
And hills, both ways in the snow.
But we it was crazy. And now though, the accessibility of things like drone and CG and green screens is just like so much more. It's crazy.
Well, just the capability of like what a phone could, like just like all the editing and the way you can shoot a video from a phone. You couldn't do that with a little mini VHS recorder. Like you couldn't. You just
I have
couldn't
more
do that.
editing capability on my phone now, than we did on camera back then.
Yeah.
Mark, do you remember we were making a movie about a pirate? And we had to go to like 5 stores to find an iPad.
I know, and like now, all you would have to do is download an app that puts an eye patch on everyone.
Exactly.
The world is your pirate.
Exactly.
That's exactly what you.
Gosh, how many movies did you make, Sean?
Too many. None of them were good.
Oh, there was some classics in there.
I basically just worked jobs one day and then quit so that I could get enough money to go meet Mark and make some movies.
And on top of it too, they kept on becoming more and more high concept. Like, do you remember the one where we had like the roundabout murderer?
Oh yeah. Yeah, the plot was that a guy gets so tired of roundabouts because we were getting all these roundabouts in the trucking center.
Yeah.
He becomes a murderer and and he murders the wrong person's wife. But then the person who goes to try to pursue the roundabout murderer becomes a roundabout murderer because roundabouts are so frustrating and dangerous.
In a roundabout way. Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, Roundabout was actually a pretty prophetic title for that.
Oh, God.
Oh, but man.
Nicolas Cage would star in it.
Oh, dude, and he would be great at it.
He would be fantastic.
Oh, Oh, I would pay to see that movie.
Roundabout with Nicolas Cage. Oh gosh.
So basically, what I'm hearing is we need to make another movie.
I know.
I would
Hey, have
make
you
a
guys
movie.
heard of this coronavirus? That's crazy.
Oh, right. What's that about?
I know. Apparently, it's been on the news and the television, but I just read about it in the paper.
Ah, the paper.
Ah, yes.
The good
I,
old.
I subscribe to a news article.
Yeah, no, but I
Gosh.
mean, like, how have you guys been? How have you guys been dealing with this? Because I imagine with like having the kids at home and all that stuff, and also trying to get your guys' own work done and stuff. Like, how's it been? Are you guys holding up okay?
It's been an adjustment, man. That's for sure. It's a process. My wife, she works from home now, and so she's with the kids a lot more. And because of that, it tends to be a little bit more tension around the house. And trying to get my son to sit down and learn on a computer, and then basically we're doing things old school, like we have to go outside and do things, and we have to put on the art class, and so it's caused us to be a little bit more creative in a time where we're trying to figure out how to pay bills and this and that. But I think we're doing okay.
Sean?
I'm loving it because I don't like going to work. It's not the it's not the work that I don't like, because I still do my work, but I just don't like going there. I don't like it being a plate.
Is it the drive?
It's not even the drive. And I like the people I work with and everything. It's just something about having to bow down to somebody who says where I have to be and when that I don't like. No masters or I don't know. Seth, what's the thing?
It's no gods, no masters.
Yeah, no gods, no masters. That's how I feel. And work has been the worst master for me. Tell me. Sit there, cut.
I don't know if that's the best creed for you, because half of that statement doesn't work with your worldview, but I understand.
I think you could change it up to the whole kings, no masters.
Oh yeah,
There
that's
you go.
another version.
There you go. That's the one.
No penising, no masters.
Yep, that's my version. No.
The nipples are the eyes of my vengeance.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think I'm doing good, but there's definitely like this seething rage and depression that exists somewhere below the surface that I try to avoid.
Feed it.
Yeah. I think for me, it's just like the lack of social life, I didn't realize like how much, I was going to miss just being able to go out, on a weekend or get together with a group of friends or whatever. And it's now that we've just not been able to do that. It's really, I think that's when, if I were to be depressed, that would be wise. I can't even just go blow off some steam and hang out. It's just work, home, home. It's like, gosh, man, I just wish we could go do something. But, I'm trying to look at the bright side and enjoy the extra time at home, kids, and make little adventures here and there. But it's a little difficult,
Nice.
I would say.
I finally watched some movies that were in my Netflix queue that I would never watch. They were just there because I put them there one day, and I'm like, oh, now I have time to get around to it.
What'd you watch?
It was a terrible waste of my life. I watched Tree of Life and Benjamin Butthole, and they were freaking terrible.
So with Benjamin Button, like, actually, it's a lot better if you watch it in reverse, because it's about a creepy old guy that falls in love with a baby.
Yes.
Oh,
Dang it.
yeah. Oh, gosh. Oh, man. It's crazy because if you think of it, this time last year, we were watching Avengers Endgame in theaters.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And it was this amazing experience. And now it's Lord of the Flies in my freaking house. And I'm trying to survive. And I'm in therapy, which probably should have happened 30 years ago. But yeah, it's just I miss the social aspect. I miss going to pubs with my friends. I even miss going to pubs by myself. Like sometimes I would just go where everybody knows my name and just hang out. and just be, and it was just cool just to be by myself. Like to go out there, have a beer, the bartender would talk to me, and then I'd head home and feel super edgy and special. And like that was great. And now, no, I'm drinking lager with my son who doesn't think I'm that cool. He's like, yeah, so what? You always have beer. Who am I impressing right now, Sean? I need people to impress.
Actually, an interesting thing that I've noticed, and part of the reason why I like the quarantine so much is I do love hanging out with all of you guys, and maybe doing a podcast night or going to a bar or something with you guys. But I have a lot of social obligation that I didn't realize till I was in the quarantine that I really have no interest in whatsoever. And now the pressure's completely off. And so whenever we get out of this quarantine, if we do, I have a lot of conversations to have with people to let them know I'm just not interested.
Oh man.
Dang.
Wow, like a straight up post quarantine breakup.
Yeah,
A
this
little bit, yeah.
Why don't you just say no? I tell people no all the time. They're like, you want to hang out? I'm all no. They're like, oh, you busy? I go, no.
But the thing is, yeah, and the thing is, I've never had, I guess, enough time for introspection.
Sociopathic tendencies. Oh,
I've never had enough time for introspection to realize that I don't want to do these. So many things are just obligated because I'm part of the church or whatever. And I just feel like I have to. And so I force myself to want, even though I don't, I guess, if that makes sense. But
Yeah,
now I've realized that that's not worth it. And those people can piss off.
that sounds like a good movie.
Oh, the greatest movie ever.
Love in the time of COVID.
Love it.
Yeah,
Gosh.
like for me, it's just like, so my son had his birthday, my wife had her birthday,
Ugh.
and been able to do anything. We just sat at the house and like ate cake and some chicken wings, which sounds great, but when you're like celebrating with nobody, it's like kind of depressing.
Yeah.
Did
Just
the
sit here.
quarantine make you like really determine whether or not you actually like cake?
Tony, are you a caker?
No.
Okay. Ooh.
A caker.
A caker?
Hey,
A
I'm
cake
picking
eater?
up what you're like. Yeah, no,
Oh,
I'm not-
those bloody cakas.
it was no. I'm definitely, if I had to choose, I guess pie, but really I don't like either one.
Ah.
I'm more of an ice cream. I like ice cream.
Oh gosh, this is getting engaging. This is the steamiest interview we've ever had.
Does pie flavored ice cream count?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Then
mean,
pie.
like, as long as it has like at least like a little bit of the crust, and it's not just like an apple ice cream that they call apple pie ice cream, because that is BS.
Yeah, that's live.
Yeah,
So,
that's just apple
propaganda.
Oh gosh, caker. I'm gonna remember that. Caker.
Yeah, I understood exactly what he meant.
One of those Yankee cakers.
My dad didn't fight in Vietnam, so that some caker could take our job.
Exactly.
I know, right? It sounds really hateful now.
It's so abrasive.
Take it.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, Willie Clark at it again. That rascal. That 3,000-year-old rascal. Oh gosh.
Well, what do you guys think about when we get out of quarantine? Do you guys think that maybe your social decisions will change at all? I know Seth won't, because Seth's always been a sociopath and it's never changed. But does anybody else like plan on doing anything differently now than you've had this experience, or are you just waiting to get out and go back to normal?
Here, I'll let you go, Tony.
Yeah, I think for me, just little things like being a little bit more open to have a barbecue, or just, a couple people come over and hang out when I have a free night. Just not taking for granted those types of things. Because what I mean by social life is I don't mean like going out with hundreds of people. I just like what we're talking about, a couple guys going to hang out, or maybe get the kids together. I think prioritizing more time to be able to do those things, and maybe even open up my own house to be, just a little more welcoming, because I just really didn't realize how much I appreciated all that, until it was basically it's gone. And now it's like, man, I took advantage of it. I didn't realize it's what I needed,
Yeah. What
Yeah,
about
no.
you, Mark?
Yeah, so I was gonna say I think for me, like I'm going to start to try to make a more conscious effort to like stay in touch with the people that I really want to that I really want to be in touch with. I think if anything, the quarantine has kind of showed me that like I've let way too much of life kind of get in the way of like hanging out with people that I really value their friendship with. And just being able to kind of shoot these people a text saying, "Hey guys, how's it going?" During like quarantine and stuff has kind of like has kind of really put that into perspective for me.
I'm writing a
Yeah.
book.
Nice.
Nice.
I'm almost done with chapter 1.
Sounds like it was the best of times. It was the best of times.
Yes.
It's good. I've read part of it, and I'm excited. How many chapters do you think are going to be in that bad boy?
Let me see. So it'll probably be a 350-page book, maybe more. So maybe 30-something chapters.
Yeah,
And then it'll
sweet.
probably be a trilogy.
2021.
We got a title for this book or what?
Yeah.
Nice. Oh, that sounds good.
No, it's it's and it does tie into the plot, and each book obviously will be a different title, but kind of with the same theme. But it's Noble Villains. That's the first one, because it's not actually about. Most books have like the hero's journey and how they become a hero. This is actually the villain's journey. So
Oh, that's
I can
awesome.
dig it. Yeah.
yeah, with lots of guns and swords. So
Man, that sounds amazing, Seth.
So down.
that's what I'm doing. So we'll see how this turns out.
Guests, you guys got anything cool?
Anything cool? No, not nothing cool. It's just nice to be able to use technology to be able to socialize verbally, I guess. Kind of nice.
Yeah.
It's been a really
Yeah,
long
no.
week at work.
We have to thank you, Mark, because you were the one who commented on Seth's thing or something like that and told us about this whole Discord technology that the
Good
kids
old
are
horse
using.
boots.
Good old horse boots. And yeah, we honestly probably wouldn't have been doing these podcasts if we hadn't figured out how easy it is.
We would have just posted links to Joe Rogan's podcast.
Exactly.
It's like, hey guys, there's a new Tales from the Ditch.
Yeah. Ignore all the names and info.
Mark, did you have anything else worth talking about?
No. I was gonna say, and I talked with you, Sean, about this off the podcast. Now that I have more time, I am writing a RPG campaign for the Tales of the Ditch people.
Yes.
So it's going to be using the Fiasco rule set, which is extremely easy to play. So yeah. So
Lupe Fiasco.
So as soon as I complete it, I will send it over to you, and then from there, maybe you can record it or something. But yeah. So I
Yes.
just wanted to announce that.
Awesome. I'm stoked.
That was the best news since my kid was born.
All right. Well, I guess I'll end with our new question.
Ooh.
Starting with, I guess, Tony Clark.
All
You're
right.
the young one.
Okay.
What's the best fight you've ever been in? Physical fight.
That I've ever been, like, personally?
Yes.
Wow. I don't know. I've been in a couple, but not too many.
Your fight with depression?
Yeah. My fight with, depression. No. I guess the most meaningful fight I've ever been in was,
Ooh.
well, so growing up in the neighborhood that is actually right up the street from where I live now, I remember I was walking home from school and I can hear the screaming. And I was walking by like the 4-H office that was up in that neighborhood, and I can hear the screaming. Like, what the fuck is that? So it sounded like somebody I knew. Like it was this girl screaming. Sounds really familiar. So I run around the building to see who it was, and it was my friend's sister getting beat up by this other kid that we all knew. And
Girl
he's
or
just
boy?
It was a boy, just hitting her in
Ooh,
the
jeez.
face and had her up against the fence. And I was like, what in the heck is going on? So I run over there, And I just start going to town on this kid, which is crazy because he was a lot bigger than I was. But I was just like, no way, dude. I can't just let you beat up my friend's sister. Like, that's not okay. So we get into a huge fight. And then I take her home and tell her older brother, which I'm thinking, this kid's screwed because her older brother's crazy. So I go home, and then I get a knock on the door during dinner time. And it's his dad that brought him to my doorstep to shake my hand.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah. He's like, are you the one that beat up my son? I was like, I didn't know if I wanted to say yes or not. I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, I guess. He's like, well, thank you, because that's not how I raised him. He shook my hand and walked away.
Nice.
I was like, all right.
Well, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I've never had
Changed
anyone
in
shake my
lives.
hand after a fight.
They were unconscious.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
All right, Mark. Best
Uh,
fight ever.
I mean, so it's probably gonna sound like super dorky. But I would say my best fight ever, or rather, the fight that I'm most proud of is when I was at an when I was at a 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 fighting game tournament. And I was in polls, and I went up against the creative director and producer of Street Fighter 4, and was able to take 2 out of 3 games off of him in the game we were playing.
Dang. Nice.
That's impressive.
So yeah.
I don't think
I
that's
want to play the
dorky at all.
creator of Halo. On Hang 'em High with just a pistol. I want to play the creator of Halo.
No, Seth, that's not
Bill
fair.
Gates.
That's not fair. You're too good. You're too good at that.
Vengeance.
Oh, Bungie.
What about you guys?
I think we've already answered it, but I don't know. You got a new one, Seth?
I would probably say it was a time, It was a time this kid called me out. It's when I'd only been in the straight edge scene for a year or two, but I'd been getting in fights and like making a name for myself. And this kid called me out because I had said he was a bully, and I had told people that. And I said that he just bullies kids smaller than him. And he said, you let Seth know if he shows up to a show, I'm going to beat his ass. So I heard that, and I knew there was a concert going on, and we were eating dinner at the Macaroni Grill.
Oh,
And
nice.
because it was a birthday dinner for one of like the OGs, and I paid for my meal, got in my car, and drove right to a concert. And I remember like my heart was racing because I knew this guy was allegedly, tough, and he was bigger than me by about 50 pounds. So I just walked up and I saw him, and I was like, I need to make sure there's no way I can get out of this, because if I get scared, I'll back out. So I just start yelling at him, and he sees me, turns around. I'm like, okay, he sees it's me now. So I, of course, take off my shirt, take my knife out, throw it on the ground, just to kind of show him like, hey, I do have a knife. And I come up, and I don't break my stride. I'm like mouthing off to him as I'm getting closer. And when I get about 4 feet from him, I quickly kind of sidestep to my right, pick up a chair and hit him with it, and start just swinging on him. After I hit him with the chair, I let the chair go and start punching him. And he gets me a headlock. I kind of push him into his car and start punching him in the liver, and they break us up. And I realized that's all he did. He got me a headlock, but I punched him about 4 times in the face. And he's nervous and obviously didn't think I'd fight. So just to make sure things stick, I back up, grab my knife, and kind of dart at him like I was going to swing my knife at him. And people grab me, but I'm yelling at him, swinging my knife, and letting him know, like, I'll kill you. And he never messed me again.
That's what I'm talking about.
So,
nice.
Yeah.
and it was like a time where I knew, I was like, I might not win this fight, but I went there on my own, one-on-one, and just, yeah. So
I have a good one that's not the best fight I've ever been in, but it's kind of relevant after you guys told your stories. And you guys, Mark and Seth, you probably remember this, but there was, gosh, I don't even know how to say this without saying names, because this guy was a public official. There was this guy who was, I'm just going to say, running for treasurer of the state of Nevada for a while. And we knew his daughter, and we all dated his daughter, I think.
All right.
And anyways, he asked his daughter to get some guys to help pass out flyers for his campaign, and he said he would pay. And so I was like, I'm down. And me and another guy went and basically put these door knocker flyers everywhere that we could, and we got, I think, 10 cents per one that we passed out. And so most of them we just put in the trash, but a bunch of them we put in people's doors. And here's the thing, though. He said, don't bother on the poor neighborhoods. We need to go to the neighborhoods that have influence in South Reno, which is pretty hoity-toity. But the thing is whether it's a gated community or just the house is gated with like the gate at the front with the monogram on it, and like the butler has the code to it or something like that, we couldn't get in. So we just put a bunch in people's mailbox. And what happened was he ended up being disqualified because it's apparently a federal crime to put stuff in a mailbox when you're not a mailman.
What?
And he ended up getting disqualified because he was using, they say it's like immoral tactics, putting stuff in people's mailbox. For some reason, I don't get it. But either way, he was so dejected and angry, and he started screaming at his daughter about it, about her idiot friends who couldn't even hang things on a door or something like that. And I was in her room hanging out at the time, and I remember I came out and I was like, you didn't tell me anything about mailboxes or anything like that. And I don't think that's the way a state treasurer should be talking to his daughter. And I walked out and slammed the door, and I felt really good about myself.
Good for you.
You should.
Good for you.
That's a great story. And also, too, like, yeah, wait, why is it illegal to put something in someone's mailbox?
I have no idea.
That's
I
what those were for.
surprised. Exactly. It was a surprise to me as well at the time. And I was, 15, 16 years old?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait,
See?
so, what?
I was going to say, if we were raised better, you know.
Exactly.
Well, so, and then I was gonna say, like, should I call the feds on my neighbor who, like, left me some, should I call the feds on my neighbor who left me some cookies in my mailbox?
Right.
Absolutely. That's
a
a crime.
criminal.
Yeah.
That's
Were they oatmeal raisin?
No. They were actually pretty good. There was like a whole, like, it was a whole big combination of cookies for Christmas.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
That
it was
was-
cool.
It's actually
Well,
really
he's a
nice.
felon. I just want you to know that.
Yeah.
I think that was the
Obviously-
first federal crime I committed, actually.
Bravo.
But
long
not the
career.
last.
And not the last. Are you still on the no-fly zone? I mean, no-fly
Nope.
list.
Little of both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't go to Canada, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Canada is the problem.
So here's another quick story, and then we got to wrap it up. But I went to Panama I went to Guatemala a few years ago for a
Cool,
mission
nice.
trip. And everybody walked right through. They have this thing. It's really weird. You get into Guatemala and they do the immigration check, and they try to act like it's random. And you stand in a line, and when you're at the front of the line, there's literally a light, and it's either green or it goes burn and it's red. And if it's red, you have to go talk to the guy, and it takes a long time and everything. And it's supposed to be random, right? And so everybody, we're all wearing the same shirt. We all look like a bunch of kids from a youth group, and we're standing in line, and everybody goes through. Ding, 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 ding. And then it gets to me immediately. And the thing is you have to they already have your information pulled up because you have to give them your name when you're ahead in the queue. And so everybody had to wait on me for about 30 minutes because I had to talk to the guy, and it took so long. And so I was making jokes about how it's probably because of this Canada thing that Mark and Seth and I got into. And they were like, no, whatever, blah, 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 blah. So flash forward a year or a couple of years later, I go to Panama and the exact same thing happens. And the guys who I went to Panama with were looking crazy sketch. One had a backpack that had like a mask and scuba gear coming out of it, and looked, but seriously, like shaped like a machete, went straight through, no problem. And me, I have like just a humble like JanSport backpack, and they pull me to the side and it takes super long. And then going back into the country, same thing. We had all these shells that you're not supposed to take, right? We had like conch shells and a bunch of stuff that you're not allowed to take into the United States. And I was like, I promise you, put them into this guy's backpack because they're going to search me. And lo and behold, when we were coming back into the country, they let those guys just skate right through with their conch shells and everything. And they searched my backpack and everything. So I'm pretty sure I'm still on a list of some sort. But I still got out of the country, so that's good.
Yeah, that's a plus.
Yeah.
All right. You were there, Mark. There was nothing we could do, right?
No. In fact, you know what? I think we were the victims.
Those rude Canadians.
They were really rude.
They prefer Canuckians. Okay?
Actually, I guess it was the U.S. Border Patrol that was giving us a hard time, huh?
Well, and also too, was the fact that like someone we were with said, "What? It's not like we have drugs in there."
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And the APB that was out for the license plate from a couple days earlier.
Yeah. That was...
Oh, the thing about rape?
Oh yeah, the whole rape thing.
Oh god.
Ugh. Yeah, I still feel.
Which I want to be clear, none of us did, but I'm just saying. Yeah, the police had some crazy accusations about a rapist on the loose, even though they couldn't give us a description or a date or details. And then it wasn't rape, it was robbery. And then it wasn't robbery, it was shut up, Seth.
Yeah.
So,
Oh man, I still feel bad that I took my underage brother.
Kidnapped him.
learning lesson.
Yeah.
And what? Like he was only 14?
Actually, I was thinking about this the other day too. I've always really disliked Canadians, but then we started watching Letterkenny, right? Because Seth watched it and it was so good. And I'm like, you know what? Canadians aren't so bad. And then I was like, actually, we were treated the best in Canada by other bands and fans compared to anywhere in the United States. We were spit on in the United States. We went to Canada and they loved us and they were nice. And even though Taco Bell was closed that night, they still hooked us up with food. And then we get back into Seattle and it's just an absolute nightmare.
Good old Seattle.
So I don't know. Maybe I'll move to Canada one day.
Yeah,
Figure it out.
Figured out.
Figured out.
Figured out.
All right. Well, that's it. Seth, you want to wrap it up?
This has been, for some reason, another episode of Tales from the Ditch. If you want, email us at talesfromditch@gmail.com. And honestly, we only keep doing this because, I don't know, because some of you actually listen, which is surprising. So we're going to keep doing that. We have a Patreon. What do I have to say about the Patronus, Sean?
Patreon.com/talesfromtheditch.
Just give us beer and chicken.
Oh, and if there's any musicians out there that want to write a theme song, the MC Butt Nasty dregs starting to drain, and there's not a lot of content left. So please, Troy, talking to you. He doesn't listen. That's a joke. He doesn't listen.
I don't
send him a text later.
All right, Willie Clark, zip it up.
Zip it out.